Welcome to the Nameless.
They said the ceremony would protect us, but no one told us what it would leave behind. At the time, that sounded comforting. Protection. That was the word everyone kept repeating. I didn't question it. None of us did. Because the place we were moving into needed it. I moved there in late October. The town wasn't on most maps, just a quiet settlement tucked between forested hills and an old reservoir. The kind of place where the roads narrowed into gravel long before you saw the first house. My friend Daniel had found it. Cheap rent, quiet neighborhood, plenty of space. We were both in our mid-20s, tired of city noise and tiny apartments that felt like storage units. So when he showed me the listing, an old house sitting on several acres, I didn't hesitate. It looked normal, maybe a little older than the photos suggested, but nothing unusual. At least, not at first. The house sat at the end of a dirt road. There were 5 houses total on that road. Ours was the last one. Beyond it was nothing but trees. The forest started maybe 50 feet behind the backyard. Tall, dense, quiet. The kind of woods that seemed to swallow sound. I remember stepping out of the car the first day and noticing how silent everything was. No birds, no wind, just still air. Daniel noticed it too. He laughed it off. Guess we got the peaceful spot. The neighbors were strange. Not unfriendly, just distant. The first one we met was an older woman who lived 2 houses down.
She stood at the edge of her driveway watching us unload boxes. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just watched. After about 10 minutes, Daniel walked over and introduced himself. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I remember the way she looked at the house. Not us, the house. When Daniel came back, he seemed distracted. "What'd she say?" I asked. He shrugged. Just asked if we'd been told about the ceremony. I laughed. "The what?" "Ceremony." He said the word like it meant nothing. Then he carried another box inside. We asked the landlord about it later, over the phone. There was a long pause on the line. Then he chuckled. "Oh, that." His voice sounded forced. "Local tradition. The neighbors do a little protection ritual for new residents." "For what?" Daniel asked. "Storms, bad luck, things like that." He said it quickly, then changed the subject. 3 nights later, they held it. I didn't realize what was happening at first. I woke up around 1:30 in the morning. Not from noise, from light. A faint glow slipping through my bedroom curtains. At first, I thought it was a car, but when I looked outside, the driveway was empty. The light was coming from the backyard. Soft, flickering, like candles. I walked down the hallway. Daniel's door was open. His room was empty. The back door, though, that was open, just slightly. Cold air drifting inside. And outside, voices. Low, calm, almost monotone. When I stepped onto the porch, I saw them. 5 people standing in the grass.
The neighbors, each holding a candle. They were arranged in a circle, right in the center of our backyard. Daniel was standing with them. He looked half awake, like someone who'd been woken up and guided outside without fully understanding why. No one reacted when I walked closer. The candles barely moved in the wind. The flames stayed perfectly still. And the voices, they were repeating the same sentence, over and over and over. But the strange part was, I couldn't quite understand the words. It sounded like English, almost, but not quite. Like hearing a conversation through a wall, familiar sounds, wrong shapes. I remember standing there for a long time, just listening. Eventually, the voices stopped. One by one, the neighbors blew out their candles. No one spoke. They simply turned and walked back toward their houses. Daniel blinked a few times, then looked at me. "Oh," he said, "they finished already?" The next morning, he barely remembered it, just fragments. "They said it protects the house," he told me while making coffee. "From what?" He shrugged. They didn't say. Life went back to normal, or at least close to normal. But small things started happening, things that didn't make sense. The first thing I noticed was the backyard. specifically the grass. Where the neighbors had stood during the ceremony, the grass never grew back. Not dead, just missing. A perfect circle of dirt about 10 feet wide. We figured maybe candles or heat had scorched it.
But weeks passed. Rain came. The surrounding lawn grew tall. The circle stayed bare. Then the noises started. Not loud ones, quiet ones, mostly at night. Soft footsteps in the backyard, slow, measured, always circling the house. Daniel thought it was an animal, but animals make irregular sounds. These footsteps didn't. They were perfectly spaced, like someone pacing. One night, I finally checked. Around 2 a.m., I looked out the kitchen window. The yard was empty, but the footsteps continued. Soft, crunch, 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 moving in a circle, exactly where the ceremony had taken place. I told Daniel the next morning. He didn't laugh. He just stared at the backyard for a long time, then said something that made my stomach tighten. I've been hearing them too. After that, sleep became difficult. Not because of fear, because of anticipation. Every night around the same time, the footsteps started. Slow circles around the bare patch of earth. Sometimes they lasted 10 minutes, sometimes an hour, but they always stopped the same way, abruptly, mid-step, silence. We eventually asked the neighbors, casually, trying not to sound paranoid. The old woman 2 houses down looked confused. "Footsteps?" she said. "Yes," Daniel said, "in the backyard." She shook her head slowly, then said something strange. "You shouldn't hear anything." That sentence stuck with me. You shouldn't hear anything. Not there's nothing there. Not it's probably an animal. Just you shouldn't hear it. Winter arrived. Snow covered the yard. For a while, things seemed quieter. Then one morning, I saw something that made my chest tighten. Footprints in the snow. A perfect circle around the bare patch of dirt, even though it had snowed all night. And even though the footprints stopped exactly where they began. No entry, no exit, just a loop. Daniel refused to look at them. He stayed inside that entire day. A few weeks later, we tried researching the town, just out of curiosity. The ceremony, the neighbors, the road we lived on. But something strange happened. We couldn't find anything. No town website, no property records, no historical listings. Even the road name didn't appear in county maps. It was like the entire place had been skipped. We drove to the nearest city library, asked about property records. The clerk searched for a while, then frowned. "Are you sure that address exists?" Daniel laughed awkwardly. "We live there." She turned the screen toward us. There was nothing. Just blank results. That was the first time I felt something close to real fear. Because houses don't just disappear from records. Roads don't vanish. Towns don't erase themselves. Unless they were never officially there. We went back home that night in silence. The forest felt darker than usual. Thicker, like the trees had moved closer to the road. And when we pulled into the driveway, the bare circle in the yard was glowing, very faintly. Like moonlight reflecting off wet ground, except the sky was completely overcast. Daniel saw it too. Neither of us spoke. We just stood there, watching, waiting for the glow to fade. It didn't. That night, the footsteps returned. But something was different. They weren't circling anymore. They were moving toward the house, one slow step at a time. Across the frozen grass, across the dirt circle, toward the back door. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And then they stopped.
right outside. We didn't open the door. Neither of us moved. We just sat there listening to the silence on the other side. For hours. Eventually, morning came. We checked the yard. There were no footprints. Not in the snow. Not in the dirt. Nothing. We moved out 3 weeks later. Didn't say goodbye to the neighbors. Didn't contact the landlord. We just packed our things and left. And strangely, no one tried to stop us. A year passed. Then 2. Life returned to normal. Mostly. Every now and then I tried searching for that place again. The town, the road, the house. Nothing ever appeared. No records, no photos, no listings. It was like that entire stretch of land had never existed. I even drove back once. Or at least, I tried to. But when I followed the old highway route, the dirt road wasn't there anymore. Just forest. Dense. Unbroken. No houses. No clearing. Nothing. I told Daniel. He didn't seem surprised. He just asked me one question. Do you still hear them? I didn't answer.
Because sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear slow footsteps moving in a circle just outside my bedroom window. And the strangest part is, I live on the 7th floor of an apartment building now, which means either the ceremony really did follow us, or the house we left behind was never the place it started.